Welcome back. The education sector is undergoing a digital transformation as more schools are using smartphones and tablets as a learning tool. Entrepreneurs in the digital space are spearheading the transformation by creating mobile learning platforms that address challenges in the education sector. Zakheni Ngubo is a social entrepreneur and the founder and CEO of Blankett Tech, a company that's using technology to address the shortage of textbooks, internet connectivity, and access to resources and digital content. The Syafunda platform is currently used by 72 schools, 128,000 students, and 2,745 trained teachers across 4 provinces. And most of the users of the digital learning platforms are in remote areas, and this is a life-changing opportunity for them. And many students cannot afford to buy textbooks, and this social impact business makes it easier for students to access books. And joining us in studio now to tell us more about this is founder Zakheni Ngubo. Zakheni, a very good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure having you, man. I mean, this is a very, very important discussion that we will be having. Just talk us through the Syafunda platform. How was it conceptualized? What is the intention for its formation? And where is it now in terms of its implementation?
Awesome. Yeah, so Syafunda initially was created with one purpose in mind, to really lower the barriers of access, especially when it comes to education and information. And so we've gone through a series of transformations from working with the department to create digital content in local languages for maths and science, to creating a distribution channel called the Syafunda Digital Libraries, to now working on textbooks distribution. Because, you know, one of the biggest problems is that you are going through schools where there's no libraries, where there's no computer labs. And books are expensive not only in schools, but at universities as well. And so then how do you ensure that you lower those barriers by making the books more affordable and more accessible? And so what we've essentially done is created a distribution platform which allows you to choose whether you want to buy and own a book, or if you want to rent it for a limited period and therefore only pay for the time that you want to use it.
Right. Now, Blankett Tech is a company that's using technology to address the shortages of books, internet connectivity. So how is it addressing, in particular, the issue of internet connectivity at the disadvantaged areas and the far-flung areas?
So one of the first things we did was develop this technology, which is called the black box. So essentially you take this box and you plug it into an area where there's no connectivity or infrastructure, and it's preloaded with content in it. So we basically loaded video content, assessments, everything within that box, and it creates sort of its own Wi-Fi network to cover essentially the whole school. So people on the ground are able to access content without even needing data.
Hang on a second, it creates its own Wi-Fi even where there's no access to internet?
Exactly. So anybody within that 800-meter radius is able to access the box and all the content that's in the box. We're able to update and get information to assessments directly.
Okay.
And so that was where we started. And then recently we actually started building our own towers in areas where we've got a high concentration of schools. And obviously when we're building our own towers, it means the schools that are within range are getting essentially free internet access.
Okay. So who's the target here? Is it, the high schools or at tertiary level?
The targets, I would say, learning doesn't have penny in a vacuum. So what we try to do is create a platform that will serve everybody, whether you're in primary school, university, or in high school. Our platform caters for everything. We've got a distribution network that caters for books in ECD as all the way up to university. And we've partnered with publishers like Oxford, Pearson and the likes, which essentially covers across the spectrum.
Okay. So what sort of digital learning resources do you offer?
So we've got everything in terms of academic books, prescribed textbooks, curriculum aligned, of course, and accredited by the DBE. But we're also expanding into non-academic content as well, where with the Kelo Africa brand, we are looking to empower local authors and publishers to be able to distribute their own content. And so here we're looking, for instance, we recently launched on our platform the Bongani Mayosi autobiography, which is based on Bongani Mayosi's life. And so we are looking to expand that to say, when you can write and create books, there should be an alternative way of being able to access your market and be able to better engage with your audience, not only in terms of the books, but also being able to create something called the book club, where you were able to engage, share more resources and information, be able to host live talks and video content, and better be able to capture and understand your audience essentially.
Okay. And you've mentioned the Kelo learning platform, right? So how does it differ from the Syafunda platform?
So the Kelo learning platform is focused on the books, essentially. So Syafunda was mostly focusing on creating video content, DBE sort of curriculum aligned, and the distribution, which is the connectivity aspect. Whereas Kelo is Africa's first interactive digital bookshop and virtual library. And essentially what we're doing with Kelo is changing how people read and how people access books, where you essentially don't need to go to a library if you've got sort of like this central virtual library where you can, just by being at home on your mobile phone, can access any book that you need and check out the book for 30 days, for 6 months, or whatever period you actually need it for. And throughout that platform, you're obviously able to have notes, summaries, but also you get to be part of a larger community of people studying and reading the same things. So by joining our book club, it means you have access to not just the books, but the summaries, the video content that is done by the lecturers and the authors themselves. So it creates an ecosystem whereby you're not just learning from a book, but you're getting something much bigger than that. Sure. And it allows then for the learning to happen in an ecosystem rather than just one aspect.
So as you do a diagnosis in terms of the success in the implementation of this platform, so what kind of social impact has it had?
It's been crazy. I mean, so for instance, we launched in 9 universities in March, and within the first month, we had 22,000 users on the platform.
Okay.
And so that tells you in terms of the demand and the need for this kind of transformation. And a lot of the work we've been doing is to try and bring in the different partners, looking at ESD funds for skills development, for instance, to be able to empower not only the students at universities, but employees within companies, where essentially they can access, for instance, a company's digital library or a particular institution's digital library. And so the progress and the uptake, because has been amazing. But we are also able to track not only the usage of the platform in terms of what you're buying and what you're spending, which will help a lot of bursary funds, including NEFSAs, to be able to actually track what happens with their book spend. But we're also able to track the usage. Are they actually reading the books? What chapters are being read? How often? And also, so everything happens within the platform. You store your book within the platform, you read within the platform in an internal e-reader.
How do you track the usage? I'm quite fascinated by that.
So you do everything on the platform, just like you do with Netflix.
Yes.
You download our app and your book is stored on the e-shelf within the platform, and it's got an internal e-reader where you can highlight, do notes, save everything. So while you're doing all of that, we are able to assist you because we're tracking your activity. We're tracking how fast you're reading, what sections are you doing. But also we will be embedding assessments on pop-up questions as you're reading so that it's a bit more interactive. And so for us, it's not just about tracking the usage, but also the comprehension, which is key because ultimately what you want is impact.
So are you looking to roll it out to more schools and more universities?
Oh, definitely, definitely. I mean, we are looking to roll it out with the Department of Education currently, as well as now we started with the 9 universities, and we'll be rolling out to the rest of the 26 universities. But we are also having conversations with private organizations to essentially give them the platform to create their own sort of company library where their employees can be able to access books through their skills development fund, as well as their children through their the social funds to be able, So we're looking at it from a lot of different ways because learning essentially has to come from a lot of different spaces.
Unfortunately, we're out of time, but how do we access this platform?
It's kelo.africa. So you go to the website or you can download it on Android or iOS or web. Essentially, you just search for Kelo online.
All right. Great chatting to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay. Thank you.
Good stuff. Well, that was Blankett Tech CEO Zakheni Ngubo speaking to us about the Syafunda platform.